grey robe hung in the air. It appeared to be occupied, in that it had a shape, although the occupant was not visible. The prickly feeling crept over Downey that the occupant wasn't invisible, merely not, in any physical sense, there at all. "Good evening," he said. The robe said, "Good evening, Lord Downey." His brain registered the words. His ears swore they hadn't heard them. But you did not become head of the Assassin's Guild by taking fright easily. Besides, the thing wasn't frightening. It was, thought Downey, astonishingly dull. If monotonous drabness could take on a shape, this would be the shape it would choose. "You appear to be a spectre," he said. "Our nature is not a matter for discussion," arrived in his head. "We offer you a commission." "You wish someone inhumed?" said Downey. "Brought to an end." Downey considered this. It was not as unusual as it appeared. There were precedents. Anyone could buy the services of the Guild. Several zombies had, in the past, employed the Guild to settle scores with their murderers. In fact, the Guild, he liked to think, practiced the ultimate democracy. You didn't need intelligence, social position, beauty, or charm to hire it. You just needed money, which, unlike the other stuff, was available to everyone. Except for the poor, of course, but there was no helping some people. Brought to an end. That was an odd way of putting it. "We can," he began. "The payment will reflect the difficulty of the task." "Our scale of fees?" "The payment will be $3 million. Downey sat back. That was 4 times higher than any fee yet earned by any member of the Guild, and that had been a special family rate, including overnight guests. "No questions asked, I assume?" he said, buying time. "No questions answered." "But does the suggested fee represent the difficulty involved? The client is heavily guarded?" "Not guarded at all, but almost certainly impossible to delete with conventional weapons." Downey nodded. This was not necessarily a big problem, he said to himself. The Guild had amassed quite a few unconventional weapons over the years. Delete. An unusual way of putting it. "We like to know for whom we are working," he said. "We are sure you do." "I mean that we need to know your name, or names, in strict client confidentiality, of course. We have to write something down in our files." "You may think of us as the auditors." "Really? What is it you audit?" "Everything." "I think we need to know something about you." "We are the people with $3 million. Downey took the point, although he didn't like it. $3 million could buy a lot of no questions. "Really," he said. "In the circumstances, since you are a new client, I think we would like payment in advance." "As you wish. The gold is now in your vaults." "You mean that it will shortly be in our vaults?" said Downey. "No, it has always been in your vaults. We know this because we have just put it there." "We will need to know where, when, and of course, who," he said after a moment. The cowl nodded. "The location is not on any map. We would like the task to be completed within the week. This is essential. As for the who..." A drawing appeared on Downey's desk, and in his head arrived the words, "Let us call him the Fat Man." "Is this a joke?" said Downey. "We do not joke." "No, you don't, do you?" Downey thought. He drummed his fingers. "There are many who would say this person does not exist," he said. "He must exist. How else could you so readily recognize his picture? And many are in correspondence with him." "Well, yes, of course, in a sense he exists." "In a sense everything exists. It is cessation of existence that concerns us here." "Finding him would be a little difficult." "You will find persons on any street who can tell you his approximate address." "Yes, of course," said Downey, wondering why anyone would call them persons. It was an odd usage. "But, as you say, I doubt that they could give a map reference, and even then, how could the Fat Man be inhumed?" A glass of poisoned sherry, perhaps? The cowl had no face to crack a smile. You misunderstand the nature of employment, it said in Downey's head. He bridled at this. Assassins were never employed. They were engaged, or retained, or commissioned, but never employed. Only servants were employed. What is it that I misunderstand, exactly? He said. We pay, you find the ways and means. The cowl began to fade. How can I contact you? Said Downey. We will contact you. We know where you are. We know where everyone is.